I'm back in the hotel room having cheesecake. You know what that means. It means the day did not go well. So I came into the day with a pretty good amount of chips. I don't exactly remember what the blinds were, but I must have had 120 big blinds or something like that. But I lost literally every reasonable pot I played over the course of the first 2.5 hours to bust. And normally that's not such a big deal, but somehow I found myself involved in a pretty good amount of pots. I kept getting like decent hands, like Queen Jack suited, 8-7 suited. I had pocket kings once, that lost. I had top pair, top kicker twice, those lost. And so when you run into those spots, you're just going to lose some chips. When you lose 20 big blinds, 30 big blinds, 20 big blinds, 40 big blinds, over and over and over, well, you're out pretty quickly. And it's very frustrating to go from a lot of chips to relatively few chips. Or no chips, as was the case this time. But that happens. You just have to make sure you continue doing your best. After that, I decided to hop into a $1,000 satellite. That also did not go well. I had kind of an interesting spot. I was down to about 20 big blinds. I raised from the hijack seat. Everyone was pretty tight. The cutoff and the button both called. They were tight-ish, passive-ish guys. You know, like 50-year-old guys who were just playing their hands straight up, for the most part. That said, a lot of them were inclined to overplay. Like if they got top pair, they're thinking it's the nuts. So knowing that, I have King 10 suited. It comes King 5-5, 2 clubs. I have no clubs. I had diamonds. I decided to check into both of them. The first guy bet out, I think he bet 7,000 into a 12,000 pot, and I had about 25,000 left. So I check called. I was already feeling kind of unhappy. Turn was a 7. I checked, and he just instantly went all in. And normally, that's just the easiest call in the world because, well, I'm checking here not to check fold, right? We have top pair. But against these, like, older, tight, straight-up players, like, what is he really betting in this way? Is he playing flush draws this way? Is he playing pocket nines this way? And that's the thing. It's really, really tough to know. And quite often, I think the guy's just going to show me a king. So what kings is he calling my preflop raise with? Well, most good players are 3-betting king, queen, and king, jack, because those are certainly not hands you want to just be calling with. So it's going to be ace, king that didn't 3-bet, which doesn't make much sense. Or just a poorly played king, queen, or king, jack. Or maybe, like, again, a poorly played king 9 suited. Basically, any king the guy's going to show up with was probably not played too well. So if we assume he's maybe doesn't have so many kings, it's going to be mostly flush draws. I think that makes a lot of sense. Certainly could have jack 10 suited, queen jack suited, stuff like that, ace x suited. That would be reasonable. He probably has almost no 5s, so he may also just play pocket 8s or 9s this way, just a really, really poorly played pocket 8s, thinking, my opponent checked, therefore I have to bet. So it's kind of interesting here because in order to make the call, well, yes, in order to make the fold, because I'm naturally going to call here, right? In order to make the fold, I have to assume the opponent is really messing up and that he is just really only playing like king, queen, and king, jack this way. That is the range I would need to primarily put him on to justify folding. And I tend to give my opponents credit, which may be an error. So I ended up calling. He showed up with king jack offsuit. So one of the exact hands that you would typically not want to play in this manner, but that's exactly what he did play in this manner. And it's kind of interesting because I'm opening ace king and king queen offsuits, but then I'm also opening king jack offsuit, which he's chopping with, and then not king 10 offsuit and not king 9 offsuit, maybe king 10 suited and king 9 suited. So in my range, I'm going to have way more ace kings, king queens, and king jacks, which I would just check in the spot, given I was relatively short. I didn't really need to bet for protection or to make sure I maximize value. So it's a long way to say I had top pair and I lost. But that's the spot where I wasn't really happy calling off because this is certainly the bottom of my calling off range. But at the same time, I still think it needs to be called unless I assume my opponent is just the worst. And I have a hard time making assumptions that my opponents are just the worst. So I'm going to have the cheesecake. I'm going to relax, try to get to sleep early. I woke up a little bit early this morning, so I'm going to get to sleep early tonight. Tomorrow's $10,000 buy-in tournament starts at 2 p.m., so I'm going to sleep as long as I possibly can. Wake up, go to the gym, put in my workout, and then hopefully try to not lose a bunch of chips.
No one. No one. Oh my.
You want a big ring, sir? Big ring is here?
Today is day 2 of the $10,000 buy-in World Poker Tour event. I had a fantastic day 1. Well, actually, I had a fantastic first 4 hours of day 1. I was blessed with a very good table draw. There were some very soft tables in the field, and there were some very tough tables in the field. And I had definitely one of the easier ones, so that is incredibly lucky. I ended up making a few big calls with overpairs where I faced either a turn or a river raise, or just like a lot of aggression, and both times my overpairs were good. And then a fun hand came up where a player limped at 150, 300. Someone raised to 700, a loose aggressive guy. I called in the small blind with pocket sevens, pretty standard, right? Big blind, who had been very tight, made it 2650. So alarm bells are kind of going off in my head. Initial limper called, which is kind of odd. The initial pre-flop raiser called, which is not quite as odd because he's getting great odds. And of course I called getting great odds. We were playing about 40,000 deep, so pretty deep stacked. And flop came queen 7, or king queen 7 with 2 spades. So I have a set, we're not folding. I checked, initial raiser checked, which also kind of sent off alarm bells. I was pretty unhappy about this too because you would think you would bet with aces. Well, you would think that he would want to check with only something like jacks and tens, right? Because if he has ace king, he probably wants to bet. If he has king queen, he probably wants to bet. If he has aces, kings, queens, he probably wants to bet. But at the same time, maybe he is slow playing, right? If he's slow playing, it's obviously with kings and queens, which I lose to. So anyway, he checked. The initial limper now bets 10,000 into the 10,000 pot. The initial raiser called. So 2 pretty strong lines right there. I decided though to make it 40,000, effectively putting everyone else at the table all in. I'd already chipped up a bit. The initial raiser tanked for like 2 minutes before, I'm sorry, the re-raiser to 2,600 tanked for 2 minutes before folding. Who knows what that is? Maybe he did have aces, right? The person who bet 10,000 instantly went all in. So I'm like, oh, well, I guess he has either a good draw or kings or queens, right? Maybe king, queen. And then the caller in the middle thought for a while before also folding. The caller in the middle said he had aces. He didn't show it, so I'm not sure I believe him. But as soon as the action closed, the guy who re-raised pre-flop said, "You have sevens, right? You have sevens." And sure enough, I had sevens. And he had king queen, he claimed, which I do believe him. He had no reason to lie to me. And he seemed to be pretty genuine throughout the day. So big fold by him. The other person who got all in with me had a king jack offsuit for putting me on a draw, which I guess he thought I would only check raise all in with a draw, and he was not right about that. I would check raise all in with a draw there, just to be clear. If I had any straight flush draw, I would definitely be all in, but I had the set. I'd also play king queen in the same way. So that was lucky. That put me up to about 130,000, and that's kind of where I hung around for the rest of the day. I got up to about 150, got down to about 90. I lost a short stacked all in with ace king versus kings, which was a little bit unfortunate. But I hung around for the rest of the day. My table tightened up quite a bit. 3 people busted in the first level, and that was good. I was lucky to collect some of those chips. Sometimes whenever you have a really soft table, you get to collect the chips, and other times you just sit there because you get no cards and you get none of the chips. And that's always frustrating. So anyway, I'm going to relax a bit by the pool, and then I am going to go play day 2. I looked at my table draw. I only knew a few players at it, so that's good. The table's not going to be breaking for the whole day for the most part. If it does, it's going to be right before we get in the money. So now we need to run well. Here we are on the bubble. Play at our table is going quite slow, as you can see by the stubs over there. They're taking their time, as they should. Nothing wrong with that.
954.
954. It's going well enough.
we are down to 12 people in the $25,000 buy-in tournament. Things have been tough. Right now we're guaranteeing $66,000. They're little tiny payout jumps each time someone busts, which is kind of fun. Gives you an incentive to, I guess, try to ladder up. But I've had no cards pretty much. I did get kings, so I can't say I've had no cards. I did get kings against ace king, and this time I didn't lose. I lost in the $10,000 tournament that way. But it's been tough. I've had exactly kings, and that was it. So the blinds are going up somewhat quickly. I have not really done much. I'm following the float the turn push fold app for the most part, and I've come nowhere close to playable hands. So anyway, 12 people left. First place is, I think, 780,000. I can look. No, 794,000. That would be great. The field's obviously very tough at the moment, and all I'm going to do is continue playing my best. Well, I used the float the turn push fold app as soon as I made the previous video. I got 10-9 of diamonds on the button for 9 big blinds. I pushed all in. Olivier Bousquet woke up with king 9 offsuit in the big blind and made a good call. And just like that, I was out. I got 60, how much did I get? 66,700. So certainly not what I wanted, but cashing is better than not cashing. Tomorrow there is a $1,500 satellite to the $15,000 tournament. I'm probably going to play that. I'll wake up and see how I feel. If not, I may just take the day off. And then the next day is the $15,000 buy-in Tournament of Champions that has a lot of added money. A car, a 100K. So it'll be a fun tournament.